Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indian, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rekah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well. And a sincere salutation to all the Akim pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopefully elect. And shalom to the Akwaf who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. The Lord's willing to be edifying. This is just a few news updates on what's going on around the world while you sleeping on prophecy. So Lord willing to be edifying.
Started as a spark. The next thing you know, the inferno of revolution is all around you and can't be extinguished. That is the South America of 2019. What's crucial, if that's your aim, is to find just the right moment to stir up dissent. Venezuela's chaos was the epicenter. Right after the country re-elected President Nicolas Maduro, Washington pounced, challenging the government's legitimacy and trying to provoke a coup.
Hola, I'm Mike Pence. Nicolas Maduro is a dictator with no legitimate claim to power.
And it gracefully endowed the legitimacy to run Venezuela upon the leader of the opposition.
I swear to formally assume the duties of the national executive as President of Venezuela.
President Trump officially recognized the President of the Venezuelan National Assembly, Juan Guaido, as the interim President of Venezuela.
The time is now to support the Venezuelan people, to recognize the new democratic government led by interim President Guaido.
The safety and security of President Guaido and his family are of great importance to the American people.
Guaido tried hard to win over the military, but when it became clear it stood behind Maduro, Washington rolled out some empty threats.
Are you considering a military option for Venezuela?
We're not considering anything, but all options are on the table.
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 And Nicolas Maduro would do well not to test the resolve of the United States.
And steamrolled the country with sanctions, adding to the suffering of ordinary people already living through economic collapse. But is it really democracy that Washington and its allies were interested in? Or perhaps this has something more to do with black gold?
What is Donald Trump's casus belli against Venezuela? The casus belli is the oil of Venezuela, the riches of Venezuela. It's gold, gas, diamonds, iron, water, our material riches.
Resource grabbing hasn't only been...
That's what they want, man. They cannot be satisfied. That's all they want. The minerals, the resources. Okay? He take and take, man. He cannot have enough.
...confined to Venezuela in the region. Bolivia's seen its own share of unrest this year. But there, a right-wing coup was successful. The elected president, Evo Morales, forced to step down and flee the country.
Why am I resigning? So that my opponents cannot continue to persecute my socialist brothers. It's my duty as an indigenous president and the president of all Bolivians to seek peace.
After Morales got the boot, Senator Janine Áñez proclaimed herself interim president. Not exactly a household name before that, but what's more important is who had her back. Any guesses?
We pledge our support to the Bolivian people and to the transitional government led by President Janine Áñez as they prepare for these elections.
We support Janine Áñez in Bolivia as she works to ensure a peaceful, democratic transition through free elections.
And just like in Venezuela, it's ordinary people who are paying the price for regime change. parallels? Here's another one. Lithium is in high demand in the United States, and that valuable resource also happens to be in abundance in Bolivia.
What they need, what they do with lithium, they're making these iPhones, man. And these Galaxies, these Samsung Galaxies, man. Okay? With these lithium batteries, man. Hey, Habakkuk 2 and 5, man. Okay, he is a proud man, he's a keep at home. His desire is at hell and is at death, and he cannot be satisfied, man. Okay? He heapeth to him all peoples, man. Hey, he covered fields and take them by violence, man.
Chile has also been no stranger to disorder, where clashes have been deadly at times. Thousands have rallied since mid-October, demanding the president resign and the constitution be revised. There have already been widespread reports of torture and unlawful killings following the military's deployment.
These are most legit, man. It's most legit.
But on these protests, the U.S. has been silent. Maybe it's because the president is Sebastián Piñera, a Harvard graduate whose free market policies have shown he's happy to do business with the U.S. A case not so different from this next country. At last, we have Ecuador, a country that became engulfed in protests after the government carried out IMF-backed severe austerity policies. Yet again, silence from the U.S. And the reason is pretty much the same as with Chile. The U.S. supported the government's newfound allegiance with the IMF. Washington might pick and choose the battles that benefit its interests the most, but at the end of the day, fire is fire. It doesn't care who it burns. And when a whole continent is set ablaze, it becomes extremely difficult to extinguish.
And see, these devils, man, they don't care about what's going on. All they want are the resources. But guess what? They pulling this right here, man, because this is what they do, man.
All right, American fighter jets bombed 5 sites across Iraq and Syria on Sunday. The airstrikes targeted the Iranian-backed militia group Kataib Hezbollah. This is in response to the killing of a U.S. civilian contractor in a rocket attack on an Iraqi military base just a week ago. RT correspondent Saya Tavenger has the full story for us. Saya, what more can you tell us?
Manila, according to U.S. officials, this was in response to 11 recent rocket attacks against U.S. coalition bases in the last 2 months, including one last week that killed a U.S. contractor and injured 4 U.S. service members. Iraqi security and militia sources said that at least 25 militia fighters were killed and at least 55 wounded in the airstrikes. Now, U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said the U.S. hit 3 Kataib Hezbollah sites in western Iraq and 2 in eastern Syria, including weapon depots and the militia's command and control bases.
Now you look, this guy right here, he didn't even mention Colombia, okay, Paris, the Yellow Vest movement, okay, Haiti. There's so much things going on around the world, man. As the scriptures say, what uproars of the people, man? Why? Because of the government, man. Because of the way, the rulers of the world, man, is handling business. Everybody's in an uproar, man, because of these devils, man.
Targets we attacked included 3 targets in western Iraq and 2 targets in eastern Syria.
And see, they creating these false flag attacks, man, so they can go in and take, man. Because as the scriptures say, read it real quick. Habakkuk chapter 2 and 5. It says, "Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, his philosophies, his policies, his legislations, his democracy. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Okay? Micah 2:2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And that's what they do, man. That's what they do. Why? Because their blessing was to live by the sword and to have the dominion over the entire planet, man.
That were either command and control facilities or weapons caches for Kataib Hezbollah. The strikes were successful. The pilots
I bet they was.
returned back to base safely. I would add that in our discussion today with the president, we discussed with him other options that are available. And I would note also that we will take additional actions as necessary to ensure that
Iran militia promised revenge for U.S. strikes in Iraq and Syria.
From militia groups or from Iran.
And it's going to be revenge, man.
We know about Iraqi President Barham Saleh has called the attacks unacceptable and a violation of Iraqi sovereignty.
Yeah, now, Saya, who exactly is this Kataib Hezbollah? I mean, this group that the U.S. attacked in Iraq and Syria.
Well, Kataib Hezbollah is separate from the Lebanese group Hezbollah. Kataib is backed by neighboring Iran and was the militia group that the U.S. was targeting in this airstrike. Now, Kataib Hezbollah was formed in 2003 after the U.S.-led invasion in Iraq, and although Kataib Hezbollah is one of the smallest Iranian-backed militias in Iraq with an estimated 5,000 members, it's considered also one of the most dangerous. And Kataib is led by Abu Mahdi al-Mohandes, and one of Iraq's most powerful men who also battled U.S. troops and is now the deputy head of Kataib. In 2009, the State Department actually linked him to the elite sports force of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, which recently President Trump designated a foreign terrorist organization earlier this year. Now, Kataib has long targeted U.S. forces and was also one of the earliest groups to dispatch fighters to support Syrian President Bashar al-Assad just in support of him. Now, while Iran has denied that it's behind any of these attacks, they have denounced the U.S. airstrikes as a form of terrorism against the Iraqi people, but Kataib has called for a response for the U.S. airstrikes, which Iran said that they would support. In Washington, Cy Tavenger, RT.
All right, so as you heard there, at least 25 people are confirmed dead and 50 or more wounded after U.S. airstrikes hit in Iraq, which hit the Iranian-backed Kataib Hezbollah militia group. Now, the strikes are in response to the death of a U.S. civilian contractor at an Iraqi military base. For more insight on this, let's turn to former Pentagon official Mike Maloof. So, Mike, were these airstrikes warranted? I mean, were they a bit disproportionate to the death of one U.S. civilian in Iraq? I mean, is this legal?
Well, that's three questions right there. First of all,
yeah, everything is legal with U.S., man. Psalm 94:20, man. They frame mischief by law, man. Okay? They can do whatever they want to. Why? Because they dominion. They have dominion over the earth, man. And they blessing is the sword, man.
Well, they were probably considered to be a little disproportionate given that so many were killed.
Hey, Proverbs 10:23 say, it's a sport to a fool to do mischief, man. Okay? Then the scripture say they are fools, children of base men. Okay? They are fools, man. It's a sport to a fool to do mischief, man.
But when you have a concentration like that, it's going to be you're going to hit a lot of personnel. Probably was also to send a message: do it again, we're going to hit you harder. Was it legal? U.S. was invited into Iraq this time, unlike in Syria. It was on a military base, an Iraqi military base. And what's strange is that Kataib and the other Popular Mobilization Force groups under the authority of under the control of the IRGC Quds forces in Iran are supposed to work with the Iraqi military, but they attacked the Iraqi military base with the U.S. personnel on it. So a lot of this is not computing properly. Second, also you have the United States there, as I said, being invited there, and there were 11 previous attacks on the U.S. military personnel prior to this one who was finally killed. I think the problem is that we're going to see a further escalation, and if there's going to be a further response, the U.S. will respond accordingly.
So Iraq then is put in this between a rock and a hard place, right? Given that Washington and Tehran.
See what that say? Iran militia promised revenge for U.S. strikes in Iraq and Syria.
Are both their two main allies.
Yeah.
So how do you see the growing tension between Washington and Tehran impacting security in Iraq?
Well, I think it's going to deteriorate rapidly if there's going to be a quid pro quo.
The term of the year.
Yeah, it's the term of the year. But if it was just a one-time thing, that's one thing. But if this continues to escalate, the United States is looking for any excuse to go into Iran at this point, especially since they've linked this group with the IRGC Quds forces. So I think that, and also the fact that you have, as I said, the United States was invited into Iraq, unlike its Syria.
They're there legitimately.
Yeah, they're there legitimately. Now,
Now you see, these Idumeans, they trying to find a way to go into Iran, man, because they need that oil over there, man. Okay? Iran got some of the best oil, man. Okay, that top line oil. And they trying to get it, man. But you know what they're going to get? World War III.
One way to get around all this, I think, is for the Iraqi government, and particularly the prime minister, to say, look, I want all foreign troops out. Now, the Kataib, Hezbollah are all locals. I mean, they're all, now that you got Quds forces, which are there, but they're not going to go anywhere. The net effect would be to get the U.S. out. The Quds forces, this group.
Man, you can't get U.S. out of there, man. Okay? Why? Because they have the mean on the earth. Now, this is another clip. This day world, man, to rule it in wickedness.
This is the news with Rick Sanchez.
And good evening, everybody. I'm John Huddy, filling in for Rick Sanchez, who's off for the holidays. We hope he's enjoying it. We begin tonight by reviewing the many protests that raged around the world this year, and we've talked about many of them right here on this show, often when the mainstream media has all but tuned out. And we found that there have been parallels between these protests and often several corresponding factors driving the demonstrations. Among them, a feeling of exclusion among youth, the young generation, concern about the future, and anger about a growing economic disparity gap in many of the cities and countries where protesters and demonstrators have hit the streets. It's the same kind of fuel that gave momentum to protests like Occupy Wall Street and the Arab Spring. I was there at Zuccotti Park when Occupy Wall Street began, and I watched it not only grow bigger and bigger there in Manhattan, but also spread across the country and across the world. And likewise, today, there's a younger generation, what we call millennials, speaking out, raging against the machine of often oppressive and corrupt governments and the wealthy elite, the 1% that gets richer while the rest continue to struggle. From Paris to Hong Kong, from Lebanon to Chile, the anger is the same. In many of these stories, it started with a smaller swell of movement, growing into a large wave of protest for better living standards, quality of life, and higher wages, among many other demands. And one of the key ingredients in this recipe for resistance, the dismay and frustration that the rich keep getting richer. In fact, since 2010, look at this, Jeff Bezos, of course, of Amazon, made almost $100 billion more. Bernard Arnault, the chairman of the French company LVMH, which makes all those high-end products like Tag Heuer, watches, and the various really expensive perfumes and clothing, he made $82 billion in 10 years. Bill Gates, who has donated to various, organizations and charitable organizations, made more than $50 billion in the last decade. Warren Buffett, almost $42 billion. Mark Zuckerberg upped his worth by $72 billion since 2010. And Mukesh Ambani, the Indian oil and gas tycoon, $30 billion.
Now you see this? Nah, this ain't even the 13 head families of the earth, man. Okay? This just your Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and all these other Mark Zuckerbergs, and this ain't even the 13 head families, man, who are trillionaires, man. possibly zillionaires, man. Okay?
Billion. The list goes on and on. In 2010, the 10 richest people in the world had a reported total wealth of $296 billion compared to $822 billion today. Oxfam, the International Human Rights Organization, reported this year that the 26 wealthiest people in the world own the same wealth as the poorest half of the entire world. So my question to you, did you get richer in the past 10 years? Are you better off today than you were 10 years ago? This is the news with Rick Sanchez, where it's time.
Hey, these people trusting that bag, man. Hey, and they can't even mention the elites, man. I'm talking about the Rothschild, the Rockefellers, Oppenheimers, DuPonts, the Gettys. Okay? They can't even mention these people, man. They just giving you a list of people that's rich in North America, man. Okay? They ain't even mentioning, hey, cause the elites, they in Great Britain and all around the world, man. They ain't over here in North America, man. It's these little peon millionaires over here, man. They got a few million, maybe a couple billion. They don't got no money, man. The Rothschild and the Rockefeller got the bread, man.
Time to start doing news again.
Hey, but it's showing you about Russia. Hey, Russia, China, and Iran, they doing military drills together, man. And North America pissed off about it.
That we think you'll be asking tomorrow. Number one, how will the U.S. respond to the joint naval drills by China, Russia, and Iran in the Gulf of Oman? Number two, has Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu reached the end of his political career? There's been an update and breaking news about that. And three, do people intentionally ignore facts because of their own personal biases?
Hey, you see that right there? Do people intentionally ignore facts because of their personal biases? Listen, when you go look at the word normacy bias, people feel that things going to continue the way they've been going on for years. But guess what? Yahweh Shema Shai finna upset all that, man. Why? Because people are intentionally ignorant, man. The Lord say, and we talking about you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, man. The Lord says people are Sodom's children, man. Okay?
We start with the U.S. imposed sanctions, drawing ire all over the world. And how long will countries wait before they respond? Well,
see? And that's why Daniel chapter 2, okay, verse 40, 41, tell you about the 10 toes, man. Okay, the miry clay and the iron partly mixed. Hey, these nations, all these nations that's joining North America, man, they finna separate. That's why Revelation 17 and 16 say they're gonna make her naked and desolate and eat her flesh and burn her with fire, man. Okay? Why? Because of the sanctions, man. These devils is putting more sanctions on these countries than ever before, man. They sick of North America being the bully, man. And they finna shut it down real soon. They finna short North America down. They finna shut her down, man.
It looks like a pretty loud response will be coming tomorrow when China, Iran, and Russia begin 3 days of Navy exercises in the Indian Ocean. And as I mentioned...
And them the three main countries, man. Okay? Hey, China, Russia, and Iran is the... Hey, when you're reading Ezekiel 38, man, okay, Iran and Russia, man, they are the ones to wipe this place off the map, man. And China join with them. Okay, you know North Korea coming, man. Okay, Venezuela coming, India coming, Turkey coming, man. Cause these are the names that I just mentioned. They all dumping the dollar. Russia and China have created a pipeline for gas. They ain't messing with North America no more. Okay. Obadiah 1 and 7, man. Okay. They that were at peace with thee, they of thy confederacy. Matter of fact, let me read it because I don't want to butcher it. This is Obadiah. Obadiah 1 and verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in him. See, these Idumeans over here don't understand nothing, man. Why? Because the Lord made them to be carnal minded, man. All they understand is weapons of war, man. Mass destruction. Okay? They don't understand nothing they got to do with spiritual because they are natural men. So the nations that join with them through Confederacy, man, they have deceived them. Okay? They that making their money over here, they deceiving these devils, man. And guess what? They finna be destroyed, man, because they don't know what's going on. Because all they're doing is trying to use the sword to get what they want, man.
In the Gulf of Oman, and it looks like the country's finest aquatic firepower, naval firepower, will be on display, as China has confirmed that it will be sending a guided missile destroyer to accompany the drills. And joining us now to discuss the lack of diplomacy between the U.S. and their rivals is former U.S. diplomat Jim Jatras. Jim, thanks for coming on the day after Christmas when everybody's dealing with
North America thing is a game, man.
Thanks for joining
Not me, thank goodness.
That's good. Me neither. Me neither. We were talking about this earlier. What is China and Russia and Iran? What's the message that's being sent here to the U.S., to the world? You know, but specifically, is there a message being sent to the U.S.?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the word saber rattling is used, over and over again, but I think there is a bit of that. I think the Russians and the Chinese are specifically saying, with respect to the crosshairs that are on Iran, is that to the United States and also to the Israelis and the Saudis and the other people pushing for military action against Iran, if you're thinking this is going to be a freebie, it's not going to be. It's not going to be easy. I don't think Russia and China want to go to war on behalf of Iran if hostilities break out. But they would certainly support Iran in every short of war, and also to tell the United States and our satellites that they are prepared for war if it comes.
Hey, it's going down, man.
They can push back though, short of going to war.
I think among the ways they can push back is to supply a lot of weapons to Iran if a war breaks out. That they would supply a lot of weapons to Iran and any military and logistical supplies that are necessary to support Iran financially, to make sure that Iran is able to carry on that fight. Let's remember, if we're stupid enough to do something with respect to Iran as we did to Iraq in 2003, Iran is a much bigger country, a much more difficult country to defeat militarily than Iraq was.
Absolutely. And how?
Come on, man. Iran is the Persians, man. They are the Persians, man. Okay? I'm talking about the same Persians that took down the Babylonian Empire, man. Okay? And ain't North America, is Babylon the Great, the virgin daughter of Babylon. Iran is going to be the one to take them down again. Join with Russia, man. Russia and Iran going to destroy this place, man. Okay? The Lord say he putting the hooks in the jaws and turn them back, man. That which was shall be, man. And there's nothing new under the sun, man. And the Lord required that which is past, man, which is the Persians coming back again today. The new modern name is Iran, man. Okay? God can make modern day term today is Russia, man. And they finna destroy North America. Why? They don't have no understanding. Like I just read to you, Obadiah 1:7, man. There is no understanding in them. Why? Because they pride have to see them. They are so prideful, they can't see, man. Because all they see is what? Diamonds, gold, lithium, resources, man. Minerals. They gonna die about that, man.
How likely is that? You know, we've heard, we've talked about it. I've talked about it with you. We've talked about with Michael Maloof, who's going to be on after you. You know, but what is the likelihood that the U.S. could go to war with Iran, or would it be more likely that?
Oh, it's going.
With the U.S. backing.
Well, the Israelis would never go to war with Iran by themselves, and neither would the Saudis. I mean, that's to say, it would have to be more than just U.S. backing. It would have to be direct U.S. Participation. In other words, the United States carrying the load to do their dirty work for them. They're not going to do it on their own. And so I think I think there's always the question when the Israelis and the Saudis act.
This Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe is past, World War I, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. Okay? One woe passed, right? World War I. This Revelation chapter 11, verse 14. The second woe is past, World War II, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. World War III coming quickly, man. Just keep watching, man. Okay? Hey, you better wake up, man, and get out of your sleep, because World War III is close, man.
Provocatively toward the Iranians. Are they just getting political mileage out of that? They gain more from the escalation of intentions than they would from the actual outbreak of hostilities, which open up Pandora's box of uncertainties about how that turns out. I don't think either Mohammed bin Salman or Bibi Netanyahu are crazy enough to actually launch such a war. I hope they're not, but I don't really know.
Right.
I don't really know.
See, we ain't dealing with emotions and feelings, man. Okay? Proverbs 3 and 5 say what? Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, man, and lean not unto thy own understanding, man. Okay? Proverbs 20 and 24, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? Proverbs 16 and 9, there is a way that seems right unto a man, but the Lord do what? Punish the heart, man. Hey, they going to war. Ain't no hope. Okay, you got all these Edomites talking about, we hope it don't happen. Hey, this is what? The weapons of the Lord's armory, man. And it's going to happen, man. I just read to you Revelation 9 and 12. One woe is past. Here come two more woes. Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past. And yeah, here come a third woe. Here quickly, short out. Real quick, man. It's coming, man. Okay? Hey, you just keep living, man. Just keep living. You're going to see it. Prophecies are playing out, man. While you around here asleep. On my social media. Babylon the Great finna fall, man.
And they would have to be 100% sure that the United States would back them up and do the work for them. And I don't think they're quite sure about Trump.
Hey, North America ain't finna be backing nobody, man. Because they is the one that finna get bombed on, man. Thus saith the scriptures. Okay? This is the words of the Heavenly Father Yahweh, man. North America, Babylon the Great. North America is about to be destroyed, man. And if you ain't prepared, you're going to fall with her.
Refused to take the bait when that drone was shot down, and he was expected within minutes of launching a strike against Iran, and then he didn't do it. I think that sent a chill through them.
Well, speaking of Trump, going into the election season, going 2020 or 2020,
Let me want to play this right here, real quick.
You have a foundation of
strong for this infomercial.
GCU's online degree program in cybersecurity.
I want to play this.
China, Iran, and Russia kicking off 4 days of joint naval war games in the Gulf of Oman and the Indian Ocean, as Tehran looks to improve military ties with Beijing and Moscow amid heightened tensions with the United States. Waleed Phares is a Fox News national security and foreign affairs analyst. Waleed, thank you for joining us on this topic. How concerned should the United States be about
Very concerned.
coordinate between these three countries, certainly not our allies?
These developments are important because they allow us and our public to understand what's the situation, the real situation with Iran. Often we have friends and allies in the region and beyond who are putting pressure on us. You need to do more on Iran, more in Iraq, more in Lebanon. The reality is that this joint exercise between Russia, China, and Iran is a message that these two powers, nuclear powers, are telling the United States and our allies that we're not, quote, going to let Iran down if you do anything against it. So the calculations now for the United States is to take into consideration that we're not just dealing with Iran, but also with an axis, a larger alliance, including those powers.
In our current news cycle, we hear a lot about Iran and Russia working together, particularly when it comes to Syria, and I definitely want to touch on that point in a moment. But first, just weaving China back into this whole discussion. Regarding this, the Chinese Defense Ministry said this about these naval drills, that it would deepen exchange and cooperation between the navies of the three countries. Of course, this is a very important area, very close to the Strait of Hormuz, of course, a major area for getting oil tankers from place to place from Iran. So what does China's involvement mean for all of this?
Well, look, China and Russia, but China made the statement, is telling us that we're not going to allow you to seize and control this area and isolate Iran. This is very serious. That statement is very serious. And it could be also that they are willing, China and Russia, that is, to send some of their parts of their fleets or ships into that area, which would complicate things. But this reminds me of something else. Our problem with Korea is very parallel. I mean, we think that we are only dealing with Korea. In fact, China and Russia are backing Korea. So it's much more of an international coalition business that we're dealing with now.
And shifting to Syria.
Hey, we keep telling you, man.
We know that Russia.
We keep telling you, all these nations going to join with Russia, Iran, and China, man. All of them. Okay? The scriptures say all these nations is going to separate from North America, man, and bomb her.
and the Assad regime are working together. At this point in time, it's created really a humanitarian crisis. There have been renewed airstrikes, and the aim is to get this northern part of Syria that is still considered a rebel stronghold for the Assad regime to regain this ground. Now, the president has issued essentially a warning. President Trump tweeting this: Russia, Syria, and Iran are killing or on their way to killing thousands of innocent civilians in the Idlib province. Don't do it. Turkey is working hard to stop the carnage.
Man, you Idumeans done slaughtered hundreds of billions of people. And you talking about what Russia and Syria and China are doing and Iran? The nerve of you devils. Hey, that's why the scriptures say, Obadiah 1:3, the pride of your heart have deceived you. You damn devils, man.
So, Waleed, how hard is Turkey working, and does this warning from the president have teeth right now?
Well, that's the whole question. The president is really messaging President Erdogan, and he's telling him basically that Iran and Assad and Russia, of course, are moving to take back that area, and to put it back under the Assad regime. There will be hundreds of thousands, not millions, of civilians who will flee. Where are they fleeing? They'll flee north towards Turkey. And from Turkey, what could happen? They could go to Europe. So it's a very serious matter. Unfortunately, President Erdogan, who backed the rebels in the beginning, is now very interested in intervening in Libya, like half the Mediterranean away. So that's why probably this is a reminder by President Trump to President Erdogan to take care of that neighborhood, not across the Mediterranean.
Oh, well, you brought up Libya, and that's, there are a lot of challenges there as well. Where does that stand right now?
Here's the problem. In Libya, you have a kind of a civil war. On the one hand, you have the Libyan National Army, which is fighting the jihadists, but it's not recognized by the government in Tripoli, which is backed precisely by Turkey. As long as the factions were internal, we could have solved this politically under the UN or so. But now with this warning from President Erdogan that he may send his air force and forces through Tunisia or directly to Libya, that complicates things because you have Greece that would oppose this, Italy and France. So the Mediterranean now is destabilized by this conflict in Libya. And we need, as US, to be very strong in trying to solve that problem.
Yeah, I mean, in this latest tweet, the president seems to be saying Turkey is working hard to stop the carnage. He seems to be leaning a lot on Turkey in that respect. I mean, how much can we depend on Turkey? It doesn't, there's been a back and forth most recently with
the
Turkish leader, the
you
Turkish
can't.
president, as to expectations and if they're going to meet any of the U.S. expectations on the ground there.
Well, we had the test in northeast Syria, and we saw that President Erdogan's government really first did not listen to the calls for ceasefire, the initial calls for ceasefire by the United States, and then kind of imposed their conditions on a ceasefire. But now, really, I think President Trump is right to issue that warning, because after that...
Hey, that's why the Lord told, when you read it on Luke, the Lord say, what king go to war and not count the cost, man? Thinking you finna go to war with 10,000 against another person that got 20, 30, 40,000, man. Hey, they haven't counted the cost, man. Cause what you see going, hey, that's a beautiful precept, man. North America has not counted the cost of Russia, China, Iran, and all the North Korea gonna join with them. Okay? North Korea gonna join with Russia and China and Iran, man. Okay? Hey, you North American Idumeans have not counted the cost, man. And they finna wipe you off the map, man. Let me go back to this. Let me go back to this.
Who's going to be on after you? But what is the likelihood that the U.S. could go to war with Iran, or would it be more likely that it'd be Israel with the U.S. backing?
Well, the Israelis would never go to war with Iran by themselves, and neither would the Saudis. I mean, that's to say, it would have to be more than just U.S. backing. It would have to be a direct U.S. Participation. In other words, the United States carrying the load to do their dirty work for them. They're not going to do it on their own. And so I think
see, did you hear what he just said? He said the Israelis would never go to war with Iran by themselves. Okay? Why? Because, as the scriptures say, the least of the flock should draw them out, man. The Israelis, okay? The Israelis is going to make North America go to war, man. This is Jeremiah 50 and 45. Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, that he have taken against Babylon, North America, and his proposals that he have proposed against the land of the Chaldeans, you witchcrafters and warlocks, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Who is the least of the flock? The Israelis, man. Israel. Okay? Like he just said, Israel would not go to war against Iran alone. They're going to have North America to join with them, man. Because the least of the flock should draw them out. Who's the least? The Israelis, man. Okay? And that's prophecy, man. Read again and say, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely they shall make their habitation desolate with them. Okay? Hey, the Israelis going to have you North American Idumeans destroyed with them, man. Okay, that's prophecy, man.
I think there's always the question when the Israelis and the Saudis act provocatively toward the Iranians, are they just getting political mileage out of that? They gain more from the escalation of intentions than they would from the actual outbreak of hostilities, which open up Pandora's box of uncertainties about how that turns out. I don't think either Mohammed bin Salman or Bibi Netanyahu are crazy enough to actually launch such a war. I hope they're not, but I don't really know.
Right.
I don't really know. And they would have to be 100% sure that the United States would back them up and do the work for them. And I don't think they're quite sure about Trump. After he refused to take the bait when that drone was shot down, and he was expected within minutes of launching a strike against Iran, and then he didn't do it. I think that sent a chill through them.
Well, speaking of Trump, going into the election season, going in 2020 or 2020, however you want to say it.
2020.
We were having a conversation before the show about that. Anyway, obviously, the election cycle and the election season is starting. It's going to be contentious. Do you think they'll...
Hey, so just a few things I want to go into because I've seen these different clips, man. Showing you, hey, it's finna take flight soon, man. Okay, prophecy is playing out. The RFID microchip playing out. Right? These things that take flight, man. Uproars of the people. Okay, so keep watch, man. So Lord willing, was edifying. Got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well. And a sincere salutation to all the occupants pushing this truth and believing this truth. Throughout the four ends of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akwa for while listening and learning. Lord willing, till next time, shalom.